I want to follow on that. How many U.S. citizens and possible dual citizens are in Afghanistan? There's a number floating around, about 10,000 or so. And then following on that, yes, the U.S. State Department is committed to taking care of U.S. citizens. I appreciate that personally. But if things really go sideways, is this government willing to not transport any Afghan citizens, any citizens who perhaps are working for NGOs or for the United Nations, and focus solely on getting Americans out? Should people be getting their hopes up, I guess is what I'm asking.
One, on the question of how many U.S. citizens may be in Afghanistan, it is not a tally that we keep in the context of Afghanistan or any other country. We have files. The embassy has been in touch with many of these individuals, but it is not a figure that is readily available to us, precisely for the reason that you mentioned. It is incumbent on Americans in any given country to reach out to the embassy, to notify the embassy of their presence. There are many dual nationals who are also part of the equation as well. So we're just not in a position to give a firm figure. When it comes to our relocation efforts, again, we are going to be guided by one criterion, and that is the safety and security of the American people. As long as the U.S. government, calling on all the information at our disposal, deems that it is safe for Americans to remain and to be operating on the airport compound, we are going to be engaged in this ambitious, in this aggressive, in this around-the-clock effort to relocate as many individuals as we possibly can. I'll take a couple final questions.
Nick Kristof, the New York Times columnist, said basically every person who ever cooperated with the U.S. in any form or fashion over the last 20 years, the U.S. should just round everyone up, get them out of harm's way, and then figure out the visa situation later. Is that an outside possibility?
Well, that's a generalization, obviously, but it is not that dissimilar from what we are engaged in. As I said before, there are several different classes of individuals. We are, on an urgent basis, making preparations to relocate. In the case of SIVs, that has been in process for some time now. In terms of other individuals, some 1,600 individuals, not including the 2,000 SIVs, have been airlifted out of Afghanistan on U.S. military aircraft in recent days. We are, of course, prioritizing American citizens. We are, of course, first and foremost, Americans who had been serving at our embassy, who are departing the country, private American citizens, SIV holders, P1, P2 applicants, as well as other vulnerable Afghans. We have stood up a task force here at Maine State. It is operating 24/7. It is coordinating the department's planning, management, logistics related to this rather large, rather complex, and undeniably urgent operation. There are Acting Assistant Secretary Dean Thompson, the Acting Assistant Secretary of our Bureau of South and Central Asia, is heading that task force. There are multiple subcomponents of that task force. They are all being led by senior department officials. The various lines of effort include SIV relocation, logistics, embassy staff, U.S. citizens, Afghans at risk. This is, again, an ambitious, aggressive effort to bring to safety as many individuals who might be interested in doing so for as long as we can. Will.
Yeah, does that 1,600 include American embassy personnel? Have any of those left? How many of those are at Hamid Karzai Airport? And are there other U.S. personnel who don't respond, don't up to the chief of mission, who are not at the airport but at other parts of the city? Just wondering for kind of a breakdown, as best as you know it, or as of a given time, how many American personnel are at the airport? How many have left? How many might still be in the city?
As you know, whether the context is Afghanistan or whether the context is a less challenging, less complex security environment, we typically don't offer breakdowns like that. As we said last night, all of the Americans under Chief of Mission Authority who had been operating at the embassy had been safely relocated to Hamid Karzai International Airport. It is also worth noting that our efforts to reduce the civilian footprint of our embassy, they did not start last week or the week before or even last month. April 27th, the U.S. Embassy went on ordered departure. Since April 27th, we have conducted several drawdowns to responsibly reduce the size of our civilian footprint. So the size of our embassy prior to that ordered departure was much larger, certainly larger than it was a week or two ago. So this has been a
What was the size
phased.
of that?
Again, we don't offer numbers when it comes to this, but
Transparency.
it has been a phased and deliberate drawdown of U.S. personnel. I know my colleague at the Pentagon is going to be briefing, so I'm going to cede he has started. So I will cede the floor to him. Thank you all very much. We'll see you tomorrow.